This video is sponsored by Brilliant. Chords are not just a rhythm guitar thing, and there are a ton of different ways that great lead guitarists make use of chords to really enhance their playing and take it to that next level. So today we're going to take a closer look at some of the most practical ways that you can start incorporating chords into your lead playing. Let's start by marking out the boundaries we'll be working within in this lesson. We're going to be using a cluster of 2 connected scale positions. So as we know, there are 5 total scale positions, and we'll be using position 1 and position 5. To keep things simple, this will all be in the key of C major or its relative minor key A minor. Now, you might only know these as pentatonic shapes right now, but it's important that we use the full 7-note major or minor scales so that we're not missing out on any important notes that could exist in our chords. So position 1 of the pentatonic, and our connected position 5 pentatonic. But we're gonna fill them out into the full scale. So here's our full position 1. And here's our full position 5. As you can see, these 2 scale shapes overlap with one another, making them one cohesive chunk of notes in the key of C major or A minor. Now, these 2 scale positions are the types of shapes a player might use when coming up with a solo, a lick, or a riff. But we want to be able to take this all one big step further. Now, as lead players, we have 2 main uses for chords. 1, we can use them as a visualization or navigational tool, or 2, we can actively play these chords and mix them into our lead parts. Both are equally important, and I want to cover both uses in this lesson. So let's start with the visualization and navigational side of things. Chord shapes can help us do a few things, and the first of those is to serve as a landmark for quickly identifying larger scale shapes or positions. For example, for all 5 positions, we have a corresponding caged chord shape that matches the key. So we're in the key of C major here. That means that each position will have a C, A, G, E, or D-shaped C major chord within it. So in our cluster, we've got position 1 and we've got position 5. Inside position 5, we've got this A-shaped C major chord. And inside our position 1, we've got a G-shaped C major chord. And that's why some players call this the A position and this the G position. And we'd actually have these caged shapes connected across the entire neck, giving us a very effective way of visualizing each position as more than just a pattern of notes on each string. These same chord shapes can also be used to play all the chords from our key within just one position. So I could play all 7 of the chords from the key of C major or A minor within just my position 1. I've got C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, and B diminished. And this is a great way to visualize and target chord tones when soloing, because now you don't have to spend time thinking about the individual note names of the chord you're playing over. You can just think of the shape that matches within the position. For example, if the chord progression I'm playing over comes to an F major, I can target the notes from the shape rather than trying to remember the individual notes themselves on the fly. This also gives me a more straightforward way to pick out triads and intervals while playing too, because within these larger caged shapes exist smaller shapes as well. For example, I could isolate just the 3 notes from the triad of each chord in the key like this. Or use that larger shape to pick out a specific interval like these spread thirds. Those are just some ways you can use chords as tools to map out the fretboard better for lead playing. But as I mentioned earlier, we can also use chords actively within our lead playing to create more dynamic and exciting ideas. So let's change gears and look at the other side of the relationship between chords and scales. If you've watched my channel for a while, you know I'm all about finding clear, practical ways to make sense of the guitar fretboard. I really believe that understanding music or anything complex comes down to learning in a visual, hands-on way. And that's exactly why I love using Brilliant. Brilliant is an interactive learning platform that makes it fun to pick up new skills in math, science, computer science, logic, and even AI. What sets Brilliant apart is how it teaches you to think. You're not just watching videos, you're solving real problems in real time, step by step. It's super interactive and everything is built to help you understand concepts deeply, not just memorize them. My favorite courses are scientific thinking and visual algebra, which I find really reinforce the way I approach soloing and mapping out the fretboard. It's all about patterns, connections, and seeing the bigger picture. You can try Brilliant completely free for 30 days at brilliant.org/Andrew Clark. That link is at the top of the description, or you can scan the QR code on screen. You'll even get 20% off your annual premium membership as well. Thanks again to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the lesson. So a lot of the chords we've talked about so far, you won't actually be playing as chords, because who really wants to play a C major chord like this? We want to get into some more practical stuff. Full chords and pieces of chords that you can mix into your leads without skipping a beat. But before we get into this, we really need to change how we view lead guitar and rhythm guitar, because most people have this pre-installed binary switch. Flick the switch up and you're in rhythm mode, playing chords and strumming all the strings at once. Flick it down and you're in lead mode, playing scales and picking individual strings. Every time you flick that switch, you become blind to everything that comes from the other mode. We need to eliminate this switch entirely. Our brain needs to be thinking in both rhythm and lead modes at all times. Then we can make active choices on how we want to mix or blend everything together in our playing. This switch isn't something you can get rid of overnight, but as we go through more of this stuff, do your best to think of everything more holistically. So let's go back to our 2-position cluster that we started this lesson with. And what we'll do is move a few of the caged chord shapes we learned so that we spread them out between the 2 positions. Instead of playing this C major with that horrible G shape, let's move it right here as a typical A-shaped bar chord. We can also move this little G shape that we use a D shape for down here to a regular E-shaped bar chord. Fits right over top of that position 5. And whenever we play any one of these chords, our hand is already in position to just grab a few notes from the scale. We've got C major, G major, D minor, E minor, F major, A minor, and B diminished. That also means that whenever we play any of these scales, our hand is in position to play any one of our chords in the key. So if I'm improvising something using this scale, I can fill some space by grabbing little 2 or 3 note fragments of a chord, whether that's to match up with the chord I'm playing like this, or just to create some harmonization in my melodies. For example, I could take this little D minor triad and this C major triad, and I could incorporate them into a little lick or improvisation that I'm playing. And something you'll see a lot of players do, including myself, is use their thumb to wrap around the top of the fretboard to play the lower notes in a chord like this. You don't need to be able to do this, but it does free up an extra finger while allowing you to still play those thumpy rhythmic low notes while soloing. The whole idea here is to just start thinking about all the pieces of chords within your scales to add more depth to your lead playing. And if you want all of the fretboard diagrams from this lesson, they'll be available to download in one printable PDF booklet over on my Patreon, along with a bunch of other resources to help you get more out of your practice time. I think a good next step would be this lesson on how I make the fretboard 1,000 times simpler. It digs a little deeper into how chords can help you visualize the other scale positions as well. Big thank you to Brilliant for sponsoring today's video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.